Hello, everybody. Just the one and only Mr. LP, Steven Sykes, and we're going to get live shortly here for Enliven Global Media. We're going to have a little bit of fun and play a little bit of music while we get going, just to make sure everybody has a little bit of fun. I'll make video if you know anything about this.
Got to be real. Girl, I could write a book on how you're making me feel. I know I'll never find another who could match the love you're giving to me. So this is for the lover in you. This ring means I'll always be true. This is I will start over new. This time it's gonna last forever. I trust you, yes I do. And girl, you're not the kind of guy could easily charm. 'Cause the meaning of love is always shown to me when you are wrapped in my arms. Oh, baby, for the lover in you. This ring means I'll always be true. This is I will start love anew. This time it's gonna last forever. I don't wanna give you up. For the lover in you. I love you, baby. For the lover in you, girl. This time it's gonna last forever. I can say I never met a girl, no, who satisfies my mental and my physical pain. When I lay me down to sleep, I rest assured with the thought that you are right next to me. This is
What's up? What's up?
Hey.
take this ring.
Just get a couple people on for a moment.
Always be true. This is I will start
Get a couple people on for a moment.
this time. We're gonna last forever. This is for the lover in you. Take my ring. Sweet baby. This time we're gonna be together. So much love between us. I'll be the one to come running. Oh, home to you. Home to you. You give me sweet love. With a woman like you, I don't need to play around. Oh, you're more than just one woman. You're blowing my mind with the love that you're giving. That's what you hear me say, girl, every day. It's for the lover in you, baby. With this ring, I'll show you that there ain't no maybe. It's for the lover in you, baby. And this time we're gonna last. It's for the lover in you, baby. With this ring, I'll show you that there ain't no maybe. It's for the lover in you, baby. And this time we're gonna be. It's for the lover in you, baby. With this ring,
You don't know nothing about that, Scott. You're a little bit too young for that. Do you know that, sir? How you doing?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You don't know anything about that. You're a little bit too young for that, right?
Oh no. I know about Shalimar, bro. I know Shalimar. Actually, I know more about Shalimar than you do.
Okay. You weren't you one of the dancers back then?
No, I was one of the wannabe dancers back then. I was one of the wannabe dancers. Hey, I wish I could.
I understand.
But I know the deep history with Shalimar, and I know songs from Shalimar that you haven't even heard.
I need you to tell me a little bit about that. What can you share?
Shalimar's theme.
Your what?
Shalimar's theme.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was off the first 45.
Wow.
It was called Shalimar's theme.
That's something. That's an interesting history right there.
Now, Stevie, are you need some help on this one?
The soldier thing. No, I may. I don't remember the song.
It was an instrumental. Let's see here. See if I can find it. Shalimar's
theme. That one. Shalimar's thing.
It was the back track from their popular second time around.
Is that the one?
It was the flip song, Shalimar's thing.
Is that the one that says Simon's thing?
No, it's Shalimar's thing. You said Simon's thing, but you know what? Let me play it. Hold on for a second. That's it. You got it.
Okay.
Simon's thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna have to.
That's it.
I'm gonna have to play that now. And now that you mentioned that. Interesting.
Do you remember that one?
I do. I remember dancing to it. I remember it a little bit. I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. It was 78.
Well, I was in my teens.
So it had to be a 78, something like that. 77.
That was around 78, 77, 78, maybe 79.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. Well, first off, thank you, sir, and thank you, everybody. I'm the one and only Mr. LP Steven Sykes of Enliven Global Media. We're sponsored today, continuing with all the NASCAR themes of Shoe Crazy Ron, On One Consulting, Cars Unlimited LLC. Please check out the website. There's a lot of great things there, and DWD Lifestyle. And I appreciate everybody. It's been an interesting week, a couple of weeks and stuff. We took a little bit of break, Olympics and everything else going on, and just a lot of stuff happened all throughout of it. How was, first and foremost, sir, how was your last couple of weeks?
The last couple of weeks have been interesting, but it's also been very, what's the word for it? It's been devastating. One of my best friends, he's one of my closest friends. His niece was brutally murdered by her husband.
Oh, Jesus.
24 times stabbed in front of the children. So we've been dealing with that here. I mean, it made state news here. She just celebrated her 50th birthday. She was a wonderful woman, a wonderful mother. She was a wonderful wife, but the guy was just a scumbag. He was just a scumbag. So I've been talking to the family, been talking to Scott, checking on him. The son that that witnessed everything. He's in the hospital now. He's under psychiatric care. He's been in the hospital now for 5 days. He's having nightmares. He's having daymares. He's having kind of a shutdown.
How old is he, sir?
11.
God help us.
Yes.
That's something that he's going to have to. We got to keep our hands on him, because when you're that age, you feel like you could have done something to help and protect your mother or all those things. And obviously he's at a disadvantage, and all of that stuff that goes on. And then to witness it even further is very hard. And it's traumatic. I'm very sorry about that, sir. To you, my prayers to you and your family on that. That's a very troubling situation, and know that somebody should never have to go through anytime, going through. That's not a very good thing there. So, Lord Jesus.
I mean, other than that, it's been an interesting week with politics. Business is good. We're back in business with Javier the polar bear. The authors want to take it to the next level. So that's why I was telling you earlier that I may be late coming to the show, because I was talking to them. We was trying to get things organized, what we want to do with Javier. So Javier is back out of hiatus.
Okay.
And business has been good. The kids are good, but that's been the main thing, man, because she was well known throughout the entire community.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's a good thing. That part, at least, is good and things like that. So we appreciate it and things. It's just, that's a lot right there. That is a lot right there. Well, I want to get into it and things. I wanted to give everybody a chance and have a little bit of fun. We usually hit it off heavy off the top, but I said, let me try to be fair and be nice and do what we can and to get into it. And then now we were joined also by my beautiful queen, my blonde ambition in life. And everything else, try to go from there. Miss Raw Silk, author Tracy.
And don't forget, she had the sexiest gap on the internet.
She has what?
She has the sexiest gap on the internet.
Oh, I thought I was see. I tell you, I tried to. This is how much I tried to copy her, and I tried to copy
with you.
man,
But you see what happens when you try to mess with greatness. You can't do it, and just God made her great what she is.
She's my girl. I appreciate her. I love her. She's a queen.
Amen.
I appreciate you guys too. How are you guys doing this evening? Sorry to jump on late. Things always happen at the last minute.
Well, they call you because we ain't trying to tell the world your money business, but when you're rich like that, it happens like that. You got rich.
Yeah, sure.
Tracy got rich problems. The bank. She tried to close a share before the market dropped. The market's been up and down. The market dropped. She tried to close a share, and
it must be It must be the way my bank account is set up, because it ain't showing. It ain't showing on this.
Hey, welcome to the club, baby. Welcome to the club.
I'm telling you. So, what we talking about and getting into tonight, guys?
Well, first off, you missed it. We were going over a little bit. I tried to start off a little bit of fun. We had a little bit of Shalimar going on and things like that. Okay. You might just be old enough. Tracy was back then when she told Jody Watley, when she was 5 years old, told her that she was going to be a singer, and that's how it went from there.
Somewhere we're going to run into each other literally. Just do not walk in front of my car. How about that?
I'm asking for it. I'm totally asking for it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But well, first off, I want to start off a little bit. We had the Olympics that came on recently, and a lot of great things. America dominated in a lot of things, the medal count, yay. But we also, the one thing I did appreciate that, and they do pretty much every year, but this year you got the chance to see a lot of athletes of color all around the nation, and even if they weren't of color, just great sports and great teamwork and the camaraderie along the different athletes, regardless of political or social issues. Everybody was very supportive. Unfortunately, as with all the Olympics, there's always some controversy. We had the situation, obviously, with Simone Biles returning, and they wanted to take some points away just because they know that nobody can't get her, and she saluted the judge, and they want to take the points away from that. We had the child lady with the bronze medal, which they admitted that they messed up, and they should just give all three women the bronze at the end, but they don't want to give that up. And we've had issues where athletes not able to get into the stage to run, and also housing issues with that, and especially for the African
Right,
country.
Shakara Richardson, another young lady.
Exactly. I'll start off with you, Queen. What do you think? What are your thoughts about some of these issues going on with the Olympics?
Well, for me, and this is just for me, the Olympics was problematic for me anyway, because I agree with you that it's always great to see Black excellence. However, I always have a problem that our athletes are good enough to get together to make the United States look good, but then they come back over here and they still can't get respected for being who they are as African American human beings. And so for me, I just wish in this social climate that we would have set it out. That's just me in a nutshell. I just think that we've got to. There's always the plantation for us to be on, okay? And so I feel the same way about the football field. I feel the same way about the Olympics. Is always we're good enough to. We're good enough to run your footballs. We're good enough to represent you and make you. And you're so proud to wave the flags for us when we're making you look good, and making your award count look good. But then by the same token, if these was just regular, everyday African Americans, what respect would they have? And so I just think that when we start talking about our people finally unifying and sticking together for a cause, I hold our athletes accountable to that as well.
That's a very good point. And interesting enough, the women's soccer team kneeled doing some of these things. I believe it was the women's soccer team outlining these same very issues. And it's sad that you have a bunch of players, with mostly white women, that recognized this and kneeled and stood up for us more than we did. Cut. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, first of all, I didn't. I made a choice not to watch the Olympics this year because I didn't like how how the ceremony began and how they ridiculed Christianity. I'm a Christian. I love Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is my savior. And I did not like a lot of the demonic performances pre Olympics during the ceremony. So I chose not to watch the Olympics. I saw some parts of the Olympics. I support my people, particularly my people. I support Americans. I didn't like how many Black men and women were talking about Simone Biles' hair while she was achieving records. I didn't like that. But for the most part, I made a conscientious decision not to watch the Olympics because I did not like the direction it was going. To me, the pre-ceremony was demonic, and I felt very uncomfortable. Being, I felt very uncomfortable partaking in watching the Olympics. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Understandable. Um, my only thing is, and just me being try to be the peaceful guy, I agree. There are some things that I really do question, but I try to be the person that doesn't push my religious views on other people. I just choose not to watch that portion if it's demonic, and I just continue on because obviously freedom is supposed to be open for everybody. That's I try to handle it that way. I give a lot of respect out to a lot of the women teams, and also a lot of the African teams throughout the whole continent really came out in full force. Several things with that. I don't think that the athletes and the people here just can't get it through their head that you're not going to just win on on your natural talent, and you're just U.S. and everybody just going to be scared of you. The world is not scared of the U.S. anymore. To get it straight picture. All of them know that you're not going to win and you're not going to medal, and you may not even qualify after you get there after the trial. But you got one job: beat America and give them the run for their money and make you sweat. And some of these people, you don't win, you don't have a home to come to. We take it for granted. And I'm not saying this as a joke. I mean, this is seriously.
It's serious.
You saw the U.S. men before, they played them again and got it, but they took the South Sudan team that just got a basketball team that you think you were just going to play around and get over on a bunch of guys that do nothing but run for fun, just for natural. They get up and run marathons for fun every day, play soccer, and then afterwards decide to play basketball. That don't have a gym. They play outside in the heat and dribble on dirt. And you thought you're going to outrun them. Certain things doesn't make sense to me. I enjoy the break dancing, but some of those teams just should not have been in it.
Okay, so let's go back to that.
Okay.
Okay, let's put a pinpoint there because that's the problem that I have. And coming from New York City, that was not breakdancing. Period.
No, it was not.
Okay.
That was definitely not breakdancing.
Right. We have to stop letting them take our culture and spinning it and making it okay and utilizing. That was not breakdancing in any size, shape, or form. And the funny thing is that because I'm like Ron too, for my own personal protest, I didn't watch the Olympics at all. I supported. I am a huge Shakara Richardson fan. She is my granddaughter's idol. I supported her. I support Simone Biles and all that she does, and Gabby and them. So those are the things that I chose to be supportive in. But overall, with the Olympics, but this mockery that they did of breakdancing and coming from New York City, and then finding out that not only were some of the legends, but some of the legends' family members traveled to Paris and did not qualify to compete is mind blowing to me. Okay, it's mind blowing to me.
Yeah,
and they deliberately put that lady on stage. They deliberately allowed her to make a fool and a mockery of it, and now she is becoming 100% rich and popular off of foolishness.
That's the thing. I really felt like the IOC, first of all, it's 25 years too late, maybe 30. That you should have had the before. Now, what gets me is that you see online, all these now, granted, it's not all breakdancing per se, but you got all these phenomenal dance teams that include some breakdancing in it. White, black, Asian, whatever, that's killing it on social media all across the world. And you mean to tell me, we've seen some incredible culture of it. Music's for everybody, for your soul. And we recognize where it comes from, the different versions of it, but it's for everybody. And you mean to tell me you watch all the dance shows, all the dance movies you see in Australia, East Asian athletes, all this stuff dancing. You mean to tell me none of them actually qualified to do it, to give the sport justice. This made, this made no type of sense that to say that none of these people qualified. We saw years ago, it was the America's Next Best Dance Crew, ABC, America's Best ABDC, America Best Dance Crew. I think it was on ESPN some year. Oh no, I'm sorry, MTV. And you saw all these different. For a while, we saw nothing but dance competitions, and you saw all these contingents from all around the world. That just made no sense to me. The other thing that was interesting to me, and I know it shouldn't be a joke, but it's a joke and not a joke. I say it that way. I don't think America should lose anything in archery or shooting. That makes a mockery to me. As much as you love gun culture, and we've seen people in the backwoods shoot a beer can off a flying bird 10 miles away with a scope. You mean to tell me you can't win? Like, dang, if you're going to be about it and you want to brag about being a gun culture here, then show and prove. That just makes no sense to me. Then we had the issues of the accommodations, people sleeping on cardboard boxes, mats, or whatever. You got 10, 15,000 athletes and coaches. That's just the athletes. We ain't talking about the trainers, the coaches, everything. You're looking at 20,000 people. You should have, I think they need to break this apart where not just 2.5 weeks, you need to almost make it a month. So you're not burning the athletes in terms of traveling, sleeping, this, that, and the other, breathe in, how we could break things apart. And I know it could be done because we do it for World Cup. You do it for NFL, not a whole month, but, everything kind of stops and you make everything so accommodating for all the media and athletes. If we could do it for that, for all the soccer things overseas and everything else, they could do better with that. With the accommodations. And then several athletes have gotten COVID. So somewhere along the line, COVID protocols were just missed. I think too many people took many chances and just not do the right thing. So shout out to Arthur Watson. Blessings to you, Queen. I'm sorry you couldn't join us, but we appreciate you very much for that, joining us.
What about the athletes that did the swimming in the sign and they got sick? They got definitely sick, like the water was contaminated or something.
Yeah, that was something with COVID, something of the algae. I never got a full clarification of what was going on with that. And it was just too many news reports. And now that we're a few days away, I think they're trying to sweep it underneath the rug. I know several French athletes also did not get to wear their hijab. Lord, forgive me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I'm sorry, everybody. A lot of Muslim athletes were doing. And there also, another thing I did not care for, some of the designs for Nike. I'm not a big fan of the uniforms. And some of them were very revealing. And I think they really sexualized the women athletes. And I get it that, well, at least here in the US, I would say, everything is about showing your body every 5 seconds and whatever. So you want to go along with the theme, but this is the Olympics. You have to maintain, regardless of culture, you have to maintain class. And I think the US and the Nike designers missed the mark on that. That was something pretty bad. The next thing I wanted to tackle over is, and I'm going to share this screen. Where is it? Sorry, I had it up, and forgive me. But some of you may not have been aware, share the screen. There we go. The National Museum of African American Culture and History, History and Culture, has unveiled the new Mary McLeod Bethune Museum, exhibit there. And it's a very powerful exhibit that they have, somebody that, we do hear about relatively, but I don't think that on a national world level may not have gotten their due diligence. Just to give you a little bit, they unveiled the Forces for Change Mary McLeod Bethune and Black Women's Activism. It opened July 19th, and it was fully, and I think it opened fully next this past week. Who is a educator, civil rights leader, and founder of the National Council of Negro Women. It opens up and is housed a dynamic 640 square foot gallery on level 3 of the museum. It features more than 100 artifacts, 75 images, 35 physical objects, 2 digital media pieces, and a short multimedia film. One of the exhibit's highlights is an 8-foot tall plaster statue of Bethune depicting in a graduation cap, gown, and stole, symbolizing her lifelong commitment to education and empowerment. It's going to be a permanent feature, thank goodness, in the museum, and offering a comprehensive and interactive experience for those interested in learning about the profound influence that Mary McLeod Bethune and her legacy of activism. So it's something that I really think that we should do. I'm always have a great passion for cultural arts, museums, and things, but it's just something that we need to really. I'm sorry, I thought I had more pictures of it, but this is something that we really should look to, and I'm hope that our cultures. Tracy and I, we went to the museum a few years back, and for those who are within earshot of the museums and things, those of us like in the Mid-Atlantic region and things, it's worth a family trip. And also there are other cultural museums throughout the U.S., not just the one here, that we really should take our children and family to. Whether even if you don't even have small children, just go support the culture and the legacy that may be there that you may not have been aware of. I'll start with you, Colt. What do you think about that, sir?
I think it's wonderful. I mean, I'm only 30 minutes from Bethune-Cookman College, and I understand who she was and how she was a powerhouse politically and socially when it comes to the advancement of Black women. There's no question of it. So everything that you said is correct. But we are living in a culture where the younger generation is more interested in Meg the Stallion versus our ancestors that have who truly benefited to our community.
Indeed, indeed. Tracy?
I totally agree with my brother. I think that we have gotten to the point that we have made icons, and that word always kills me when we see who the icons are. And I'm like, how is that possible? You haven't even put any salt in the game. You haven't even done anything to advance the culture of some of our icons. I too follow her a great deal and am very humbled and appreciative for the pathways that she and doorways that she's opened up for me with her work and her civil rights efforts. So absolutely, I think too is, and because of the group that I started, 0365, which is Our History 365. I think that it's incumbent of all of us to stay in tune with our history, especially in a day and time where our history is slowly but surely trying to be eradicated across this country. I think that is absolutely worth a trip. I know that the humbling experience that you and I had when we went to the Morton Museum and got to speak to ancestors of Barbara Johns, who started the whole civil rights movement down in Farmville area that launched Brown versus the Board of Education. I think that going through those halls and seeing how the school was and seeing how the children, in order to be in school in the wintertime, had to sit around a potbelly stove. And I know that there's those that's listening to the sound of my voice that don't even know what a potbelly stove is. And so I just think that those experiences of going, it's humbling. It's really humbling, and it makes you appreciate the work that has been put in. I think, to my brother Cut's point, it's like this new generation think that they were born here at this time, at this moment, at this place. They forget about the people that got lynched and spat upon and hung and
Absolutely.
threatened and disappeared off of the face of this earth for them to
Preach,
even
sister,
have
preach. Preach.
this moment. And so I think that we are all responsible to not only pay homage, but also to remind them that you didn't just get here because you were birthed. You got here because someone paved the way. Someone put their life on the line. Someone gave up their life. Someone didn't live long enough to see their children grow so we can advance as a people.
Amen. Amen. I'm sharing these pictures and things just to give people an idea, not to give away and say, oh, I see the pictures, I don't need to go. No, you need to go.
It's
Not
an
just
experience just being there. Yeah, it's a totally different experience. And one of the things that we do, it's like so funny, like when you and I did a couple of years ago, and I did the old 365 tour right here in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm from New York City, and I was here teaching people who were born and raised here history in their very own city that they pass every day and had absolutely no clue about. Oh yeah, I seen that, but I didn't know what that was. To walk the walk of the enslaved, where the ships came in and docked right down there, to go on the canal walk and see the notches where the bounty men used to have to chain themselves up to in the middle of the nighttime if they were going to be out past dawn, otherwise that they would be lynched. People will see these things every single day and they think it's decorative. A lot of people think that it's just something that happened, but there is a history behind all of that stuff.
it is, it's one of those things. They didn't realize some of the earlier slave revolts. We could have literally changed the course of history if, again, we decided to snitch out
The
our
Mayo
own people.
Bridge, exactly, the Mayo Bridge right here in Richmond. People cross that bridge every day, connecting Southside Richmond to downtown Richmond, and they don't understand that that was the place that Gabriel Proctor and them was supposed to meet for that revolt. They just think that it's a bridge, but they don't understand that's the place. And they don't even realize that when they come from Lower Broad Street, up Broad Street, the gallows where he was hung is right there. The original blocks for the gallows that he was hung still sit right there at that intersection. And they drive past it every day and they don't realize it.
It's just it's crazy. I'm going to pull that tab up, and we see these things, Gabriel's rush, and you would think of what could have happened 100 years sooner if we had this further along.
But I think it's
Process.
even important of us because, like, something as simple as this, right? So you put in his name and you Google it, right? And it comes up. But the deeper history, the rich history is his name was not Gabriel Prosser. He never took the name that his slave master gave to him. And
Nope.
that's important because we keep regenerating historical facts that are actually not historical facts.
No, nowhere near. And it's just sad that him and a bunch of other Haitian Revolution things just never got the never got the attention that it's supposed to have.
Absolutely.
And we could have had, I think about it, instead of the 60s, I'm thinking about what could have happened in America in the 1850s. Will we even be going to war? Will we even hit World War I and II? Literally. And so,
I don't know. Like, I go to my brother Cut, but I know that when I was a little girl coming up, I always had a thirst for history anyway. But my stepfather was very big into African American history. Like, we weekly had to go to the Black Library in Harlem and get a book and read it and decipher it to him before even playtime, existed. And like, so it was fascinating to me to just like people that live in New York City and they go to Central Park all the time and they don't realize that Central Park was an establishment that was built by African Americans that had pioneered north, and all of that land was stolen from them. Or Weeksville, people who live off Fulton in Weeksville, they don't understand that Weeksville got its name from the people who founded that area because, like my brother Cut said, they live in this time, in this moment, and instead of knowing the history that surrounds them every single day.
Well, and Cut could allude to this more so because they did it heavily a lot in Florida. They flooded in against Seneca, was it Seneca, New York, and things. They and that whole section in the Central Park, and they built
That's
on top of
correct.
it so they could do it. Several, and this was not just a once in a lifetime thing. This was a common thing, which leads to the joke of black people can't swim, so we flood them,
Right, right.
and we need to do a more better about that. Cut, can you elaborate on that? Because you're right there. One of your neighbors.
Well, Florida to this day have some of the most racist counties in this country. Um, all I can say is that, and going by your response regarding if we would go to war, I think this country would have gone to war, but that would not have changed the narrative when it came to Black Americans, because during that time we had our own towns, we had our own cities, we had our own communities.
Well, I'm sorry. You're correct, but I guess what I'm saying is that we would have had more 70 years beforehand. Because the first one, what was World War I? 1914, 8 to 19.
I think it was 1914.
Yeah, 1914. So think about if we had the rebellion and got the rights and it got pushed through 1950, something like that. So we would have had like 50, 60 years ahead of time. What would have been politically escape? Would we been more involved, active? Obviously, they wouldn't want us involved in politics, but by 50, 60 years in, how much more ingrained of American politics and judicial system we could have been further along versus 60, almost 90 years later, civil rights movement. Or, then you had before that, the 3/5 law, all that mess. How much further we would have been along, ingrained in American society and culture. We could have prevented war or changed some aspects. So keep in mind, U.S. got in one too early, the other one we got in too late.
There would have been no way of changing war. I don't believe most Black Americans to this day still back then reside in the South. So the white Americans had control of the South. So that's an issue in itself. So that would not have changed war.
So let me ask you guys a question, like because you alluded to it earlier, Mr. LP, and we talked about this on several shows all the time that the template was there. We had Black Wall Street, we had Tulsa. When do you feel we as a people lost that fire? Because to me, that fire is not there anymore. It's we have people who have that burning in their belly, absolutely. Okay. But collectively as a people, that fire has been extinguished out. And I can't pinpoint when and how that happened. Is it that we got too complacent? Is it that we got too comfortable? Is it because we were given a few trinkets and things and we just thought we arrived? Like, what is your feelings on that?
I can easily answer that. And thank you for bringing that up because that is a very good question. I think there are three very key points that we lost it. I think we lost it in 1890 with some of the rules, and I can't think of the law back then. But back in before the turn in the century, I think that we had a little bit. There was a big hope. I think we had for Black America back then. We felt that things was going to change before the turn of the century, and I think that we had almost 8 million people. Now, some of that may have been mixed in because they didn't and give you, to be honest with a lot of the indigenous culture was they didn't even want to recognize them, so they called them Black. But we, like Cut said, we were majority in the South, but we had power in Philly, New York, Chicago, Cleveland, and also New Orleans area. we focused so much within the city. I think we had a habit of focus within our own little bubble. We forgot what it meant nationally, and we lost that power there. I think we lost the power during the wars, and we talk about the World War I, II in Vietnam, but there was heavily. I don't think people pay attention to some of the other wars and the conflicts in Mexico that we sent a lot of Black Americans to. In the Korean War and just a lot of other things that's happened that affected us, and we fell into the system of just ignoring everything else and how it was going to affect us in the long run. After we got to civil rights, and I think we were still strong in the 70s, but early 70s, but I think around, and I even used Richmond, South Carolina, Charleston, and some areas of New York. Once the mid 70s came, I think we gave up the goat. I think there was maybe a little bit of push when you saw Black exploitation and media inserting us in various forms. But from 75 on, we gave up the goat and we took our foot off the neck. That's when other things were introduced, because everything that we do, that we're fighting for now, when it came to education, without being entertained, we lost our power in cultural arts. We lost our power in emerging technologies. What was back then. And so when we lost that, then as television, music, audio, electronics started changing, and then the world of technology and computers, we lost. And we didn't further that along. And we got into more, leaded this a couple years ago. We got into so much like music and fashion and all that style and all that stuff. We get it. That's part of our culture. But then we didn't invest in the other things to help foster that sustainability with education behind it. Just as long as we look good and sound good, we didn't care. And while we played that game, we lost a fight when Reagan came in. The housing crisis, the main thing that killed us, the AIDS crisis, and the criminal laws. We could talk about Bill Clinton and everything else, but this was all started way before him. He just happened to be the most recent centerpiece of it. But all that mess with Reagan did and just totally destroyed us and of us as a people. So we lost the fight. And then as we go into the last 20 years, I don't know, since I was a kid, when the whole thug rap and music and everything else comes in, I said, this is not the way to go. People can say, oh, just do whatever. And then now we became numb to it, to the ratchetness and culture. And we want to change things. We can have new modern things, but we don't need to have all the ratchetness that came in. So now that has dominated our culture. And as soon as anybody like us, like-minded, positive people come in to say something, we get the pushback. So it's now, when are we going to say, and we can have all the different views amongst us wrong, but when are we going to collectively say enough is enough, we're going to do better? And that's why I made the post to sum it up. That's why I made the post a few days ago to say that our voices don't matter unless we get our own house in order.
Okay, I agree. Can I interject?
Please, sure, go ahead, sorry.
Our condition now is no different than our condition back then. The problem is not that we know systematic racism and oppression is a problem. That's a very big problem. The problem, but a bigger problem, is a division between our communities. This is the problem. You have what W.E.B. Du Bois called the talented 10th.
Yes.
These folks are the ones who were educated, and they were supposed to guide and help those who were not as educated. And this is the same problem that we're facing today. Today, we call them the boule. So to answer my sister's question, we're facing the same problem that we faced back then. You have a segment of our community that are how can I put this? They are the overseers in the plantation. They're not interested in the Black community as a collective.
Right.
They're only interested in their own agenda. You've got Roland Martin, Ricky Smiley, Angela Rye, Joanne Reed, and a host of other Steve Harvey, Tom Joyner. You got a host of Boule black folks that were not they played like they were concerned about the black community, but they was more concerned about their own pocketbook. And that was the same problem that we faced back then. So in other words, as a people, as a black people, if we're not willing to stay on code, regardless of our economic status, if you go to Roland Martin YouTube page, he's not talking to plumbers. He's not talking to electricians. He's not talking to carpenters. Who is he talking to? He's talking to the Divine Nine. He's talking to the so-called black elite. He's talking to those who are so-called the most educated, because they're the ones who are the overseers of our entire community, or they think they are. And this is why we're in the situation we're in right now when it comes to this election, because there's a segment of our people that no, they're not part of no fraternity. They're not part of no sorority. They're not the boule. They ain't go to a historically black college and got a 4-year degree. They're just hard-working black folk. It's the same problem that we're dealing with now. It's the same thing that we dealt with back then. And it ain't so much, we already know about Jim Crow. We already know about all that. But the problem is within ourselves. The problem is within ourselves.
I understand. It's interesting that you mentioned this. I went and pulled up, I'm always a provocator of history. And I'm going to share this on a screen for a second. Today, well, starting tomorrow, freed American slaves established, because of what you were saying, things. There was a bunch of freed American slaves established Liberia in 1824 because of some of the situations back then regarding Black America, for those who were trying to work to go ahead and on that stuff. I did get a comment here. Mr. Bolden, hey sir, how you doing? This is my stepfather. Blessings, King. First of all, happy birthday. I didn't know if you got my message, but happy belated to you, sir. He wanted to comment on that and things. I appreciate you very kindly, sir, for joining in. When you get a chance, go ahead and comment. And if you want to come in live, let us know. I'll send you the link, and we're more than love to have you comment on that. And then also we had but when we try to have things together, we have the National Black Convention. They met in Buffalo, New York, and that's where that came in. Tracy, I'm going to send him the link. While I'm sending Terry that, do you mind caring to respond to Ron's point?
Yeah, I think Ron's point is valid. It goes back to statements that we say: the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think the only difference is that back then we supported and we had trust and belief in our leadership, or what was designated as our leadership, and we don't have
Yes.
that. What I mean by that is, like, when Martin said, "We're not riding the bus," period. We didn't get on the bus, period. Okay, it wasn't, "Oh well, I can't walk there and da da." We made do. Okay, there's no willingness to sacrifice. Okay, there's no leadership that's rallying the call and saying, it's like Ron said, it's kind of like every man is for themselves and their own particular agenda. And so what's happening is we are so disenfranchised as a people that we're arguing over like stupid stuff. I mean, just as simple as like we talked about this the last time with Obama, that our people are not black, they're not black enough, or what. We focus on so many unnecessary distractions or whatever and stuff, but yet, like you said, to your point, we could reiterate everything that's going on Love and Hip Hop. We can go reiterate everything that's going on basketball wise with a bunch of women that are not wise, right? And one of the things that I said, there's a playwright here named Roar that did a play, a cover Rajai Pula that did a play a couple of years ago called Malcolm Martin and Me. And basically he brought those two great leaders back in this modern time to address the issues. And one of the things that I said in there was our famous song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," but it's not
Gil
going to be
Scott Heron,
televised.
yes.
Okay. It's the Gil Scott Heron song. It's not going to be televised on BET. It's not going to be televised in Love and Hip Hop. It's not the things that we should be paying attention to. We're not paying attention to. And I had a conversation earlier with the president of the Richmond branch NAACP, James Minor, that basically said, if you notice that white America is not even scared anymore. Racism is so out there in your face that they're telling you now what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. They don't put the playbook on the table with Project 2025, and we still are not focused on the things that's important. You know, I had a conversation with a lady earlier, and I said to her, have you heard about Project 2025? She said, I heard about it, but I'm not paying attention. I said, honey, you of all people should be paying attention, because if this man gets into office, he's talking about getting rid of TANF. Did you know that? If he gets into office, he's talking about getting rid of subsidized housing. Did you know that? He's talking about getting rid of the whole election process and going to a more dictatorship. Did you? She was like, no. Then what are we paying attention to? What are we paying attention to? We are teaching our babies to twerk and not teaching them the power of vote. We had this conversation, Mr. LP. When I was a little girl, I used to love Schoolhouse Rock, right? And I'm not embarrassed to say that a lot of the stuff that I passed in school was because of Schoolhouse Rock. I would sit in my head and sing the "I'm Just a Bill" song in my head, and in those processes, right? We don't have those things anymore. We don't. So to Ron's point, absolutely. The more things change, the more they say the same. We are no further along now than we were then. Um, we think that because we're in certain neighborhoods. So watch this, right? We talked about this, Miss LP. So we have African Americans that live on a strip of land called Monument Avenue in Richmond, Virginia. But they have never taken off the books that African Americans are not supposed to own homes and lands on Monument Avenue. So at any given time, if they decide to enforce that law, all of those people are going to lose their home. And they think that that's a joke. And when you try to educate them and tell them, they go, oh, that's so old. Ain't nobody paying no attention to that. There absolutely is a group of people that are paying attention to any and everything that they can do, where they can ring the bell one day and say, all Negroes back on the plantation.
There's a bill. There's literally bills every General Assembly. I think the last year, couple years, I may not have done it, but how long, for how many years, over a decade, I keep posting. Look at the bills that they pushing out there to get us, and
But
they look
see,
at me like,
the thing, Mr. LP, and I know your stepfather's here, so I'm going to digress. But the thing what people don't understand is Project 2025 didn't just start for 2025. It's been going on for years, okay? And what happened is in 2017, when Trump was in office, a lot of the things they were finally able to get approved or whatever. So if you Google right now the rulings that were changed for 2017 that went into effect in 2018, it already started. It already started with reducing education, reducing things, um, approving for a HUD, something as simple as HUD, approving that HUD now gets privatized, and that they stop giving money into subsidized housing and look for private developers and owners. This was all set up. It's been going on. It was going on when Reagan was in the office. It just got more light now because Trump got into office, and he was an idiot. He gave away the master plan, and they weren't very, very happy with that. So now they said, well, since it's out there, we'll just go ahead and tell you. I said to someone today, look at who your major financiers are of Project 2025. Philip Morris, Georgia
Mhm.
Pacific, all of these people who feed your 401k that you bleed money into, we need to start paying attention where our
Oh,
money is going.
let me ask you this. I don't mean to interject. Which is more important? Which is more of a threat to us right now? Project 2025, in which you said has been going on since the 80s, or the dissolvement of the black community?
You got a great point. Ron, and not to cut you off, let me be respectful. First of all, let me give you respect to my brother, father, was a good man. Love him to death. Happy belated birthday to you, kind sir. I don't know if you got my message, but I appreciate you and I love you. Blessings, Myra. How are you doing, Mr. Bolden?
Oh, I'm doing okay, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you, first of all, for joining in the conversation. I know you a quiet man, but you still got a lot to say. I don't give a dang if we agree or not. It's important to me.
Sure.
And I love you, brother. Thank you so much.
You're
And
good like that, Stephen.
did you first off, did you get your enjoy your birthday, sir?
I did. I just stayed home because, I'm changing spiritually and and in a good way, maturing. I turned 51. Um, I've been I I guess the closest thing to call me would be a Seventh Day Adventist, even though I'm not a part of their church. But some things have been happening where I've learned Bible more and more about Bible study, and so now I keep His Sabbath, and then I dropped the belief in pre-tribulation rapture, and because of those reasons and having those things in order, the spirit of prophecy has changed my vision. It's greatly changed me in how I look at the world and what's happening and how a dragon speaks. And one of the things I realize with this election seems to be one of the most unique election times I've ever seen. Um, you have, I'm conservative, but now I'm even questioning whether I will vote at all. But what I will say, um, if you look at Black people, we went from slavery of our bodies and minds, even though one could say our mind was always free, even if enslaved. But now we have another form of slavery, and we saw it early on with the Black Panthers. COINTELPRO was used to surveil and dehumanize these individuals. So now we have, for example, we have white liberals who pretend to be an ally to us, but then they have an issue when we have freedom of thought.
Preach,
We're
preach.
allowed to think the way we want. There's a lot of agendas on the liberal democratic side that just go against, even as a person of faith, just go against it, because I still have to recognize the respect and identity of every man, woman, and child. And there are some things that just don't line up. So, for example, uh, abortions are not health care. Let's be frank; they're just not. Um, I heard the other gentleman mention about the Black family, uh, and it has been a lie sold to us with a number of abortion centers in concentrated areas that are Black and brown. Again, you can do what you want with your body, but what I'm going to say is abortion is not health care. Okay, it is taking of a life, because every one of us on this call, we started like an individual that was in our mother's womb. That little small conception is why we're here. So the value of life shouldn't even be a partisan thing. It really is just a, do I believe in God's creation or not? Now, in regards to Trump, he's not perfect. And Project 2025, I'm starting to learn a little more about it. Um, as an Adventist, I'll go ahead and take that title. Uh, Adventism, our view on it is this: uh, Project 2025 seems like the tool that will be used to institute something like a mandatory day of rest. And then I believe it's Alabama who wants to put the Bible and back in school and so forth. Again, you have church and state now mixing the enforcing of something, and that is an issue. Now, blue laws, according to Spirit of Prophecy, are going to be implemented, and that is an affront to God because His Sabbath is actually Saturday. But the religious right in America, they are so extreme in they're more Christian nationalists. And Christian nationalism is, again, it's like an oxymoron term. It really shouldn't be a mixture of the two. So Christian nationalism, when a Sunday law goes to be implemented, they're going to be all for it because they've been deceived that Sunday is their Sabbath, when in fact the Sabbath was established at the beginning of man. And for the ignorant, they'll say, oh, well, he rose on Sunday, or the Sabbath is for the Jews. But I'll challenge that. Look at the 10 Commandments. It just says, and remember to keep the Sabbath holy. It didn't say to the Jews, it didn't say to the Greeks, or it said it's for man. So again, I'm a conservative, but I am concerned with Project 2025 and its extremism.
Let me
Yeah.
let me jump in there.
Yeah.
Tracy, Tracy, I want your thoughts on this because your side of the city in Brooklyn has a lot of this every single day, and we grew up with that. That side of view on those different things. Some of it may be good in terms of learning the money things that we learned in school and how to deal with money,
Well,
but some of the other stuff not so much.
Steve, can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
And what I want to say is, again, the white liberal thinks because we choose to think differently, they should have ownership of even that. It's like, okay, back off and realize every human being has freedom of thought. Okay, the white liberal doesn't get to say, oh, you should be voting for Kamala. No, I have freedom of thought whether you like it or not. Okay,
Thank you.
we are
Thank you.
not in chains anymore. We don't owe them anything. Okay, and one final thing, we have a bunch of illegal immigrants coming in, and in every state they're getting debit cards, free rooms, food,
Preach.
and health care. Now,
Preach.
although although I don't stand on reparations, here's my issue. How is it that we can somehow figure out a problem for illegal immigrants who've never paid anything into this country? But when we even bring up reparations, and now I know Republicans don't believe in it either, but I'm just making a point. I asked the young white Republican once, what would you rather choose? The Afghanistan war that went on 20 years and it cost 8 trillion. You can look up the total of it. Or would you rather choose reparations? This is what this young man said. He said reparations because at least the people who receive it will invest in the nation.
Thank you very much. And with that being said, guys, I gotta go. I gotta make this meeting.
Take
Okay.
care, Carl.
Thank
Love
you,
you
Cut.
guys. I'll talk to you
We
later, Stephen.
no problem. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Silk, the first part of the 7-day event, I don't want to say that title. That's wrong. Excuse me, Tori. The first point, and then the second part about the reparations and the second point that he made. Excuse me, I'm tongue tied today. What is your thoughts, man?
I agree with him about the freedom of thought. I definitely agree with him. I think and we had this conversation before, where I get conflicted is with our freedom of thought, there is also a responsibility We can go, like I said, on or whatever. You already know. Me personally, I don't feel that any politician, what regardless, Democrat, conservative, whatever, none of them live up to everything that they say they're going to do. So
Right.
I have to think about, for me and
Very
my
true.
household, what is in the best interest of them. And I say right now, there are two candidates on the ballot. Two, Kamala and Trump. And me, I'm voting for Shrek or anybody else other than Donald Trump. And so, do I think that Kamala Harris is perfect? Absolutely not. But do I think that she has the education, the experience, and the know how of government versus the idiot that can't even run his hotels? Absolutely. And so, I think that we get so hung up on our freedom to do what we want and we can't. We haven't earned those freedoms yet in America's eyes because we don't force them. I agree with this brother about reparations and things like, we don't hold their hand to the fire. Every time they get close and they start getting nervous and they feel like they got to do the right thing, we back off. We march, we protest, and as soon as we get almost to the finish line, we back off. Okay. Then we have our complacent Negroes that don't want to make a decision about absolutely anything. I think that, to the gentleman's point, this is where I have a tough time or whatever. I grew up and was raised Baptist. That's what my household has always been. But nevertheless, as I've gotten older, I'm trying to understand how we as African Americans adopt religions that didn't belong to us in the first place. So I never discuss religion with people. I never discuss what their religious beliefs is or whatever, because none of this stuff was good for us. It's just like the reason why we have some of the health challenges that we have, because we eat things that was never meant for us to digest. And so I think that, to your father's point, that you do have that freedom. You just have to use it wisely, because at the end of the day, if we're not collectively looking for not what our freedoms are, but who is going to be the best people out of the people that we have, okay, we probably wouldn't have chose either one of them, but who is the best people out of the two people, or the four, because the vice president that we have, that we can remotely get something accomplished and not be the laughing stock of the free world, then yeah, I'm with her.
I agree with you. I think sometimes not by you two, but I think by in general, when I think about when we say there's freedoms, I think we got this whole thing of like we just don't want to be told what to do,
Right.
and whether because of what we went through, authority issues, slavery, whatever, we just don't want to be told what to do. And I think it's like, and when it comes to something that's just common sense, we've gotten so overly sensitive. Like, yes, you should wash every day. But don't tell me what to do. Even though you know that you're not supposed to do it, is that you're not supposed to murder. I don't tell me what to do. Well, you obviously know you're not supposed to murder. It's just common sense. And I think we fight over the pettiness of things of that where what we were told to do, and it's automatically aggression. Listen to just to fight back versus listen to hear and comprehend.
Right. We can't
Look
even
at
check each
facts.
other.
No,
Other nationalities check each other. If we go to check each other, we gotta end up fighting each other. If I tell you, like, perfect example, I've seen time and time again where someone will post some video that they think is cute of a little girl twerking and doing some all kind of crazy stuff, and you give an honest opinion, and the comeback is, well, how are you to talk? You don't have no kids. You don't have to have any kids to know what's right and what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Or women referring to themselves as the bitch, and you give them the breakdown of what that is and how, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so you're 100% right. We don't check each other. We don't hold each other accountable because we get exhausted from fighting. One of the things that I've said to you a long time ago is that there are certain species that we never got to see because they didn't make the ark, right? Everybody's not going to make the ark. I'm like tired of putting my hand out trying to help you and save you, and you keep biting my hand off. So I'm just like, at this point, drown. Okay. At the end of the day, this election right here is crucial. And not only is this election crucial, but elections that are on your local level is equally as crucial. We already see right here in Virginia the agenda of this governor that is a diehard Trump supporter and has rolled back pretty much everything. This man, his first day in office, got rid of equity and diversity, equity, and inclusion. The very first day, that was the out of all the things that you had to focus on when you got into office, that was your first thing to do, to dismantle that department. That tells you something. When you put mandates out there threatening teachers that they can't talk about Black history, they can't do anything to celebrate Black History Month, even though we don't.
I'm sorry. He told the colleges that I want to know your history, and you're gonna mandate.
I gotta give you. You gotta give me your history curriculum. Those are things that we need to be paying attention to. The thing about it is that with our people, that they don't realize, the first thing that people say is, oh, I got rights, but do you really? Because a lot of these rights that you think that you have are just acts that were signed on, and some of them haven't been re-signed on. Some of them are being held for this very election, like the Fair Housing Act, okay, that we've been trying to see why HUD hasn't had this thing signed off on yet, and the election is 85 days away. Okay, that's a major, major concern. And so for me, I am concerned about, who do I trust having the button to the nuclear weapons? Do I trust the person who can't even get their thoughts and lies straight? Or am I going to trust someone that has at least had that experience? That's the concern that I have for us. Okay. And then the misogynistic lies of, well, she locked up Black people. First of all, she couldn't lock up anybody if he wasn't doing crime. Second of all, or whatever, if they research her, she was getting ready to lose her job for being too soft on crime. So these are the things that I said, we have to stop using Google and learn our history completely.
Exactly. Tori, your thoughts, sir?
Well, the first thing in regards to a lot of people will say that Christianity was something that was driven into us by the white man. They like to say that, but that actually is a lie. Jesus Christ, he came, or Emmanuel, he came for all people. So no matter Jew or Greek, meaning there's no racial aspect to it. And when you look at the book of Revelations, when it finally describes Jesus at all, it describes his feet. And this is the description. They say his feet were like bronze, as if burned in an oven. And we know anything that is burned is black. Now, if you look at Russia, Putin just released all of these ancient pictures of Christ and the disciples. And guess what? They were all black. America tries to get us to hate this guy. And again, all leaders have something that's, amiss with them. But the reality is that is a pretty bold move for a white man. He's a Russian white man, to say, hey, world, look at all these ancient pictures. Okay, now the reason why that's important is because it is very clear that we were given a white image of Jesus, and that was something that was forced. You didn't have to force these ancient pictures. There was no agenda to, let's make them white or black. Back then, that was just, what is the truth? And so even if you take the description of his feet in the book of Revelations, that alone shows something. It should light a fire to say, wait a minute, we've been fed a lie. Now, I've never really believed that Jesus was white anyway, but that's all we grew up on. We were fed that lie. And again, that impacted our mind. But the faith of Christianity, or the way, Yeshua is his Hebrew name, was for all mankind, So, yes, did some slaves convert to Christianity? Yeah, probably a lot of them did. But unfortunately, in that unfortunate situation, something good came out of it. So, for example, case in point is when Jesus died, it was probably a horrible death, but look at what the good came out of it. Now he went on to prepare a place for us to be with him forever.
Was
So
this the pictures? Excuse me, one quick. Is this the picture you were referring to? They came out
no,
last.
it was from this year.
Okay,
Those are more of like, no, those are more like Catholic inspired images. We throw those types of beliefs out because it's just ungodly. First of
Sorry,
all,
I was just trying to get you.
the title of Holy Father belongs to God and God alone. You should call
Okay.
no man Holy Father.
All right, I was just trying to be respectful to what you were asking about. Sorry.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll follow. I'll probably send you a link of a video of him releasing these ancient pictures, and these were in the Orthodox churches of Russia. So you got to think about that. They're actually telling the truth. There's a town in America where there's one of those iron placards of a historical area, and on that placard it said, "These men," speaking of black slaves, "were Israelites."
But given that, Mr. Bolden, to your point, yes, but realistically, it goes back to what I said before. If you truly knew your history, you wouldn't need Putin to release any pictures to know that the Lord and Savior was black. If you even knew the area where they're talking
No,
about
no,
and
ma'am. I
research.
didn't say that. I said
No, no,
my
no, no. I'm
original.
saying just to the audience as a whole. I think again we give credit to, yes, I think it was great for him to release those pictures and stuff. I still believe that he had an agenda for doing so, but nevertheless, we didn't need those pictures to know what we should know.
Oh, exactly. Yes, that's my point. I get my so Hebrew even means black.
Right.
So, we got to really think here. Who we really are has been polluted. Again, if you look at the slavery that's mentioned in the Bible, it's very interesting that we went through an extensive long time of slavery here, absolutely brutal, full of rape, bombing of churches, dismembering black men's penises for gifts. You know, there's something to that. Again, we can look at it as just physical, but I think there's something deeply spiritual about it too.
I do. I always said that
Yeah.
act was demonic. It was always demonic because servitude in scripture is totally different from the servitude that we was forced into. Okay, and so that's nothing but demonic.
Yeah. Yes.
Indeed. I appreciate it. And I'm a guy that's always believes. I think one of the misunderstandings that I think we had for years that we should not. They always talk about money, race, politics. We should never talk about it. And I always kept saying that's the biggest lie that we've been passing along to everybody, because
Yes, sir.
we do not learn how to. By doing that, you do not know how to learn to articulate, improve your argument. We do not learn how to work with other people, whether we agree or not. You got to go out there in the real world and work with that person. And you have to learn obviously not in terms of someone who's out to kill you, but other than that, there's always going to be, even within your own homes, we have to deal with different viewpoints. So we have to learn to work with each other and to a point to understand and get along so we can all move forward, whether we're in the same culture or not. And you both are right, that we have to be aware of what's going on and going forward.
And you mentioned DEI. I think someone mentioned DEI earlier. I'm not
Yes.
not 100%. So we know as Black folks, the first true DEI was called content of character, and that is what's that? I'm sorry.
I said no. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what. Again, if it were just about fairness, then we could go on that alone. I think I have mixed feelings about DEI because I think it is something that's being forced. For example, there are a number of I think it's like 3 major companies that if your company doesn't meet their quota standards, that they get some sort of negative rating or marking based on that. So it's funny how we've all, like, I think you mentioned it earlier. What's your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Tracy, but they call me Raw Silk on here. But Tracy is fine.
Tracy. Okay. You
Mhm.
you mentioned it earlier. I think with DEI, I don't know how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings because it's almost like we've always tried to policy ourselves to death in order to be fair, policy after policy, and still not just achieving it. Um, so, in other words, we know who runs this nation. And so when you look at something like DEI, you literally are having white people against white people arguing over our bodies and our minds, making these decisions and policying ourselves to death. When in actuality, by them doing so, it just reveals what the issue is: your hatred. So someone should be able to thrive and get through a company and not have to worry about, oh, am I being held back because I'm black? And that's why it started off with content of character. If they simply realized that, then we wouldn't have to policy ourselves to death.
But is that just a bunch of, I'm going to be frank and honest here, earnest, I say. Is this a bunch of white people who just crying when their kid can't get into a school or they didn't get a job? Instead of saying that you just didn't win, it's easier just to say it was because I'm white. Yeah, I didn't get the job. Whereas they would try to everything that we have. I feel they've always tried to spin it and adopt it to fit their narrative, but not, but
Yes.
good for us. So it's like, okay, woke was bad, sitting down was bad, burn the flag was bad, standing up was bad, staying quiet was bad. No matter what we did, they would spin it and say we're at fault. But then it would be adopted for their benefits if needed be for themselves. So it's like, oh, well, I wish I would have gone ahead and got money for schools. They assumed that every black kid who go to college was getting money for school for free. You were automatically just passed into school.
Right.
And we all know that's not the case. And to be honest, if you want to go to a college, it may not be the college you want, but every kid can go to college if you want to.
Yes.
Every kid can go get a doggone trade if you want to. We all know every one of us right here, right now, we could get almost all D's, barely pass, but you can go to certain tech school and get a trade and keep on going. And things like that. It's about what you make it and things, but it's easier to pass the blame versus anything else. And that's where it came in for the DEI. It was needed. It's just how it's effectively used. And so you had too many contingent. I use the NFL policy. We had the situation with the Rooney rule. They just now interviewing anybody just to say whatever, but you're not effectively hiring people, men and women, of all these positions just to get them going forward. We see it in NBA with women coaches, but in college, it's fine to have a bunch of men coaching things, but you don't want the women coaching the men. It's just all these exceptions to the rules to fit the current narrative. And we
I
have
think
to be.
I agree with you on that because I'm sorry to cut across you.
Sure, go ahead.
One of the things that has bothered me, and I've been very vocal about it, and nobody has been able to give me an answer except for that cut and dry answer. As a proud alumnus of an HBCU, I'm sorry, I have a problem with Caucasian people going to HBCUs, and I have a problem with Caucasians being in the Divine Nines. That's just me. I have a problem with that because it just seems like in order for any of our things to exist, we're forced to have inclusion into these things. You follow what I'm saying? That's just my feeling,
That's a
on
good
it.
point.
And I have a problem with that because number one, these institutions were created because we didn't have access to the others. But now you come in. I mean, if you want to see my blood boil, and I'm not a member of a sorority, but it makes my blood boil every time I look on Facebook and I see someone posting pictures and black women cheering on a white woman that's stepping and now pledging. That's an issue for me because the very foundation of why these things were founded is, to me, being totally disregarded and forced acceptance in order for you to continue to exist.
Since we're talking about DEI, there's another part of DEI that I've seen where companies have been called out for they have been saying things like, well, we have too many white men in a position, or we have too many. So I think DEI, it actually causes issues even against white people too, because then there was one company where they were like, well, we're having a no white male meeting, and this was like in a company, and I said, well, it's sounding like it's starting to create an issue even against white people.
Well,
So
I can tell you why that happened. Because two reasons. One, too many decisions are always made, and we've seen in our culture and commercials and TV and everything else where we're not in the room. It's literally took DEI just to get one person in the room. We could literally take right now. I could pull it up. We could, we could go to the top 10, top 20, top 50 companies in the U.S. I promise we could look without even knowing the facts. We all know 99.9% of it is all white male. You may get one or two women in leadership roles, but how many of them got to fight like hell to get something done? And then one or two a token Black or Asian person that just basically they just that color there by face, but they don't include policies that would help everybody as a whole to bring everybody else up. If you get in or you see the policy, whereas how many people in leadership, I got this job. I'm not going to bring anybody else Black. I'm going to hold on my role. Oh, I don't want to look like I'm automatically going to bring in a bunch of Black people in just to get whatever. That type of mindset. So
I think
that's
if we
what
get to
happened.
the point where the most qualified person, regardless of whatever your skin tone or your gender is, until we get to that point where the most qualified person gets the job, the most qualified person advances in a position. This is why it's so necessary, because unfortunately it's not. And I can tell you, especially as a woman of color in corporate America who used to work on Wall Street before I moved to Virginia, it was very much needed. You had women, very powerful women, that were smarter than their bosses, but they couldn't get anywhere without that umbrella being there. So I just think that, yeah, until we get to that point, and like it says, like you said, Mr. Bolden, it's all about contact of character and fairness or whatever.
Mm.
you know what? I even thought at one point a way to hire, you could actually have a system where it strips off the name of the candidate and maybe even their address, right? And then the resume can be scored. Now, with artificial intelligence, you could definitely do that, but the resume is scored, and then that's when at least the name gets released to the hiring manager.
We should.
I'm sorry. There's a technical. Hold. I apologize for
It was
everybody.
a technical glitch. We lost you for a minute.
We
But
are.
to your point, Mr. Bolden,
I'm,
I agree. And a lot of companies are doing that now. A lot of people are doing it now, where they're redacting the name and address or whatever and stuff, and just letting you see the qualifications of the
Right.
person, or whatever. Because I can tell you that it's like so funny when I got my job on Wall Street. I remember walking into the office and they was like, "Oh, you don't look like you sound." And I was like, "Well, what does that sound?" And they actually thought like I was a Caucasian lady coming, for the job. And I was like, what was that? Because
Wow.
I spoke well. I didn't speak in slang. And I know, Stephen, you run into that all the time. So I just think, yeah, if we get to the point of fairness to just hire the best person for the job with the qualifications that can do the job, then we can eliminate, like you said, some of all of these policies and things that's in place. But I've enjoyed this conversation, Mr. LP. I got
yes.
to go.
Well, I'm going to close this out and everything else because everything else and stuff like that. But I appreciate you, all of you. We could definitely go over this another 4 hours and a bunch of other subjects.
Absolutely.
First and foremost, Tori, thank you, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you so much.
You could definitely make this bigger too. I think if you advertise this in a way like for just black people, black thinkers who, with their opinion, I think you would have a lot of people. There's a black figure on Twitter named Dom Luke. He's on YouTube too. Dom Lucre. It's DOMLUCRE, and he had a Zoom meeting for black people, and it was wonderful.
Mhm.
I will definitely look that up. We did this. We just trying to get back on going in this a little bit. We did this for years. I'm not sure. Remember, at one point we had like almost 10,000 people watching, but this was before the podcast explosion, and unfortunately, the finances and things wasn't there at that time, and the support, and still now. But right now, is our voices as a time is needed, and to get us there, and we just wanted to, with Raw Silk's urging, we just wanted to get it done and do the right thing. But I thank you very kindly, and you always have a home here, bro.
Well, if you're ever doing another show, I definitely can advertise it on my platforms too.
We will definitely do that. We will definitely do it. We take it to everybody. We want everybody, good, bad, and different. Heck, I'm not sure I'll take the KKK member on the show, but I will do what I can and things. But I want to say, for just to be fair, also, for how can people, if they want to reach out to you, emails or whatever, the contact or reach you first, sir, how can they reach you if they're interested in catching up?
Oh, sure. I'll put my links in the chat now.
Okay. And Raw Silk, how can they reach out to you if they want to?
I'm on all media outlets. They can reach me on Facebook at Arthur Tracy Hardy Scott. On well, I gave up Twitter yesterday, but but on Instagram I'm Raw Silk 15. Before long, I'm not going to be communicating at all. But yeah, they can reach me basically there, and then anywhere you are, I am.
I just want to let everybody to know that that she charges a $50 fee to answer the phone. So with me, you get a discount for $45 dollars. So you can go from there. Let's see, Mr. Bolden, I won't get you, but I thank you very kindly for Silk. We're gonna have to probably do this again next week, obviously. And
Absolutely. Just hit me up. I always enjoy talking to you. Mr. Bolden, it was a pleasure being in your company. And
Nice
Reverend
meeting you, Tracy.
sharing a conversation. I'm looking forward to it again.
Thank you very much. And everybody, I got Mr. Bolden's email, websites, and things like that. They all, I think 2 of them you got to pay a $10 fee. I give you
no, they're all free.
They get it going. Hey, I'm a capitalist. I guess the proper word is a social capitalist. So I'm not sure how that works. But if y'all want to reach out to him, and if you can't catch it all now, please hit the rewind or shoot me an email. We'll definitely get you. Again, everybody, all opinions are welcomed and things. It's not so much about agreeing. It's about having an open and honest conversation so we can understand the world that's amongst us. And I think if we have more positive conversations, agree or disagree, halfway or not, we will have ability to understand the world that's within us all and within our heart, mind, souls, and spirit. Please be good to each other. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach me at enlivengm@gmail.com. I should be posting that up. Yes, so we're here. Send us an email. We'll probably get another show going on this week, and we're going to run this through all the way to the end of the election season. Thank you very much for our sponsors, Shoe Crazy Wine. Thank you, NASCAR, for supporting us this past week. And coming up, I appreciate all your love. Cars Unlimited, DWD Lifestyle, On One Consulting, and just a whole lot of things. So we got a few out there that's getting out there and getting in the game, but we're going to do it. Thank you very kindly. Y'all hold on for me for a second, but everybody else, thank you very kindly, and may you have a great and blessed day. Bye-bye.